Acupuncture needles. Oh. Acupuncture needles. What about them? Acupuncture needles. What are they? Do they hurt? How is it going to feel? What do they do? Great questions. Acupuncture is the unique aspect of Chinese medicine that is unique to the Western world. Everybody knows about herbs or eating or dietary things or exercises or meditation. They're not unique to Chinese medicine or Eastern medicine. But what is acupuncture needles. So what are they? They're little small filamental. They look like hair with they're little small needles and ranging anywhere from about an inch long to 5 or 6 inches. Now we use needles that are generally 0.25 by 40 millimeters. So about 1.5 inches long. I'm gonna show you some right here. So it comes in a blister pack. There's 10 of them in here with a little tube. I don't use the tube, I freehand. What an acupuncture needle looks like. See how thin it is? I'll put it in front of my finger. Really thin. This is 0.25, you can stick 5 of these inside the hole of an 18 gauge hypodermic needle. They're called the filiform. So filiform in Latin means spear-like. So there's no hole. So what the needle does is it just kind of slides past the skin. And how we needle real quick is just do it like this. There it is, there's a needle. We pull it out, done. Now what we do is, I have a sharps container right here, and I'm gonna put this in the sharps container. One-time use only. You saw me open the pack. The pack was super sterile and clean. They're actually dated, just like, as I've been told, I don't have any, but tattoo needles. And what it is the glue around the edges here will wear out after a time. It will get air in there. They're sterile, stainless steel, and they're sterilized with some sort of like process that you do with surgical equipment. Sterilize the needles and they poop, and it's a machine that does it. It's all in a factory. Type 2 medical device from the FDA. So they're regulated. You cannot buy them unless you have an acupuncture license. When we put a needle in, as you saw, I barely felt that. Like I just popped it in, and then we activate that area, and then it'll activate different parts of the body. What are you gonna feel? Like in that one, I didn't feel anything. And sometimes, like in the insides, or if we use the hand, or different areas where there's more nerves, you might feel a little more. We're not gonna put needles in places we don't need them though. You will feel the needles. Some people are more sensitive. Sometimes I put needles in patients and it's like, they feel everything. They're just like super sensitive. You can touch them and they're like, ooh. Other times I put needles in people and they don't feel it at all. Just go ahead, doc, I don't wanna feel anything. But what do you generally feel? You might feel a little pinprick at the site of insertion. You might feel nothing, like maybe something travel up your arm. Feels like the tendons are tightening or loosening. Sometimes you'll feel like a shock, like the body will release that area. It'll go boom, and you'll go boom. And they're like, whoa. And I just asked them, do you feel electricity right now? And they're like, no, that was weird though. Okay, that's perfect, release that area. If they feel electricity, that means we got too close to the nerve or the nerve was super inflamed, which happens, and we just remove the needle. It's no big deal. We're trying to avoid microvessels and we're trying to avoid veins. We're always avoiding nerves and arteries and things like that. There are techniques for bleeding. We don't do them here because it's messy and we don't really need to a lot of times. The needles are so powerful, we don't need to use those techniques. You might get a couple drops of blood. Sometimes there's bruising. It happens occasionally, but for the amount of needles and the amount of times that happens, it's so minuscule. It's like under 1%. So those are the things that can happen. A lot of times what happens though is people fall asleep. Now we'll get into what happens when we acupuncture. We activate the nervous system, the lymphatic system, we activate cardiovascular system, all the arteries and veins, tendons, ligaments, the fascial system, all that stuff. When you stick a needle in, all that's right in here, right? It's in every aspect of your body, so it's being activated. What happens then is we access your nervous system through your peripheral nervous system a lot of times. It'll access the central nervous system. And then what'll happen is the body will slowly start to balance. And a lot of times people come in with their body in a hyper state. Too much going on in their lives. There's too much pain. There's like a lot of stuff, right? Whether it's emotional, physical, or spiritual. Like PTSD, for example, right? So when PTSD happens, the body's just in this heightened state. And what acupuncture does, naturally, it just calms all that down. So it takes the body from the fight or flight stage, the sympathetic state of your central nervous system, pushes it over, it forces it to go into the parasympathetic state. which is the rest and digest phase. When your body does that, it naturally decreases inflammation, it naturally decreases pain, and the brain goes, oh, there's not a state of emergency there. I can now flush blood over into that area and equalize that area and make it part of me again and make it healthy. When that happens, a lot of times people go to sleep. So it's interesting, you'll go back in the back room and people have needles in them and there's 5 people all sleeping. Some people are snoring, other people are just in a deep state of relaxation, and everybody leaves and they're like, man, I feel great. All we did was put some needles in them. Where do we put the points and how do we select what we're doing? Well, you see all these books back here? Right there? A lot of answers in those books. That's why I studied lots of years. There are a lot of different systems of acupuncture. For every nation, they created their own system. And then within those nations, there's geniuses, just like in America with Western medicine, that created their own systems. There's all different types of systems. The system we use here mostly is a distal system wrapped in with a lot of these what we call microsystems. So ear, scalp. We can activate all the organs in the system, all the different areas in the system. Like for instance, a lot of times I can just put a needle in your arm or your leg and take your shoulder pain away. And people are like, what? Recently I've had patients, and it happens a lot, where I put a needle in somebody's ear and they're like, man, I felt that in my ankle. Like perfect, because that's where the point's for. And it was like instantaneous. Now, which points do we choose? Well, there's so many points to choose. I generally start with a certain structure and then we work our way forward, depending on what's going on with you. So that's why we have to assess you fully to see what's going on. If we don't get to the root of the problem, we're not gonna fix what's going on, or we're not gonna allow your body the chance to heal. That's why we select these different points, and there's lots of different points. There's basically points all over the body in every little spot. We don't cookie cutter anything here. It may seem like that, like this person's getting the same, oh, he got the same thing as me, but it's not. Like, we don't give the same thing to everybody. We pick the best points for you. We want you to maximize this experience.